Greetings and salutations, this is Jason Silverain and it's finally happening. I am going to do some more Crusader Kings 2 videos. Now, I'm going to go going through very quickly here because I've got a lot of things to discuss. Now, some of you who are more familiar with the channel may have realised that I've deleted the old Crusader King videos. Whilst they were useful a while ago, the sheer amount of updates to the game has made the advice I've given in the past just basically obsolete and actually will do more harm than good in some cases. So I thought I was just going to clear up my past videos and get rid of them so people don't make mistakes. I thank everyone who left comments on those and upvoted them. I appreciate the feedback I had in some cases. Now, I will be playing a modded game because Crusader Kings 2 really comes into its own when you involve the community. Also, I just wanted to sort of do a mods highlight. This is going to be more of a let's play than a tutorial, but I will be pausing and trying to explain my actions and why I'm doing what I'm doing. So this can be sort of a tutorial / let's play example of play. Now, let's get to the mod list. The mods I will be adding are an absolute classic to begin with, Your Personal Castle. This adds a variety of buildings to the game, many of which give minor stat bonuses and minor events. It's very nice, flavourful, doesn't break the game too much. It's one of my favourite mods and it's been around for years. It is a little buggy at this point because the guy who created it hasn't really been working on it anymore, but he's tried to make it as sturdy as possible with all the upcoming updates. Okay, the next one is a little hard to pronounce. I think it's a Finktail Fracture. This essentially prolonged claimant revolts can result in stalemates now, rather than wars going on for decades. A revolt that's in stalemate for about 4 years will actually cause the kingdom to split apart into 2 new realms. If there's multiple revolts at once within a 3-year period, the whole kingdom dissolves and turns into a bunch of independent lords. This helps blobbing be less of a problem, because with Crusader Kings you can have issues with slowdown if kingdoms get too big. It's also the reasons why I'm going to be turning off Rajas of India in this playthrough, simply because I don't want the game to slow down after 100 years. I'm going to be using Ruler Designer Unlocked, simply for the fact that the ruler designer in the game is pretty decent, and how it works is every time you pick traits you gain age, and picking negative or just bad traits will reduce your age. Now I just want to have a bit of freedom and play around with things, so this should make it so there's no age costs for any of the attributes I want to pick. Now I will try to avoid making a broken character. I have actually got a particular build planned. And to be honest, one thing to watch out for now with these ruler designer mods, there's quite a few of them on the workshop. It's kind of a pick your poison at the moment because a lot of them are a little bit broken. You know, because of constant updates and a lot of mods alter traits, sometimes there's unforeseen effects. I've never had anything like particularly bad, but it'll have like some traits will add to your age, others won't. So it got really quite interesting. Next in line are the Sauron trade route and Silk Road enhancement mods. That just adds more trade routes to the game. It means that money's a little bit more spread out and you don't have to go charging all the way over to the Far East before you even get access to trade routes. Something I thought was a bit more, well, even in the game. It means that the AI develop a little bit more quickly, which is always nice, so there's less downtime and waiting between interesting things happening. Now, one I really do recommend, which is more of a fix than a mod, is the Council Power Faction fix. Now, this just alters who will join factions against you, and with the latest updates, there was a lot of problems with civil wars and your own nobles declaring war on you to enhance their own power within your kingdom. Now this got a bit tiresome because even if you made them almost like 100% opinion, they're loyal to you, they'd still do it. It was infuriating. So this just changes a few things. For example, pacifists can't start or join factions, which makes sense. Not really a big one because pacifism's I think a Hindu path. So since I've turned that off, that's not going to apply. Craven characters can't be ringleaders, but they can join plots against you if they really dislike you. Mostly because if you're Craven, they're supposed to be cowards. They're not go. They shouldn't be like making plots against their liege. Loyalist characters won't create factions, and they're less likely to join them. Of course, if they're loyalists but you've annoyed them, they'll still join factions against you. So I like that. Characters with over 25 opinion won't join factions unless they've got particular traits like ambitious or deceitful or greedy or envious, which means they're like, yeah, I like you, but you've got stuff I want. You know, this is going to benefit me. You're in my way. Nothing personal. I like that. And finally, one thing it does is people with over 60 opinion of you really won't create or join factions. So keeping your opinions up is quite important now. And with what I'm planning to do, that is going to be the main name of the game for me, because I'm going to be going a hard playthrough, as you'll see in a moment. Oh, I've got like sheets of paper all over the list of mods. Okay, next one in the line is Sin's Visit Chambers. This one's just a little common sense mod, because when you marry in Crusader Kings, whether or not you get kids is a random percentage chance, which ticks through in the background, I think like once a year or something. Sin's Visit Chambers essentially lets you go and visit your spouse and sleep with her. I mean, no pregnancy is guaranteed or anything, but it means that you're not waiting for random chance in the background to suddenly decide, oh yes, you decided to sleep with your wife this year. This has backfired on me in the past, when one time I ended up with about 12 kids because I just kept doing it. But, you know, I'm not going to go for that playthrough this time. Especially after I learned that the larger your dynasty you get, more chance that your game will slow down. But to aid with the breeding, I've got True Eugenics. Now this will just make specialist traits appear more often and be more likely to be passed down. For example, the attractive trait now has 3 times the base modifier of being passed down to your children, whereas the ugly modifier has ×2. Strong is also ×3. Weak is ×2. So it just means if you've got negative or positive genetic traits, it's more likely to be passed on to your kids. Things like Genius, which is considered, and Quick, which are considered some of the best traits in the game, they're only ×2 chance. And Slow and Imbecile, some of the worst traits in the game, they're also ×2. So you've got to be careful. Don't let your imbecile kids have more kids. There's also minor changes to a few traits, like spouses will more likely will get a small bonus to liking kind partners. Things like that. There's the odd tweak here and there. But I've also combined it with the Eugenics mod. Similar name, but sort of thing. This increases the chance of traits being passed down if both parents have them, and also increases the random chance that newly generated characters will have traits. Again, this may seem a bit cheaty, but in the vanilla Crusader Kings, I've noticed that the Middle East tend to get a lot of smart, genius, and attractive people, and the West get ugly and strong a lot. At one point, I think I had Ireland basically ruled by everyone having the ugly trait. It was absurd. So this is sort of to mix things up a bit and make it a little less, well, predictable what traits will pop up in what areas of the world. Other fun in games is Crusader Mounts. This adds horses to the game as an item, and it also adds mounted combat to wars, which is quite cool, like personal combat and things like that. You can also breed horses, and there's also more exotic mounts in there. I've never played with this one before. I've really wanted to try it. It looks quite well thought out, and the description is quite good. There's also a few new societies I've added to the game. Now, the game has inbuilt societies. These are quite decent and have varying levels of power, though they have undergone quite a few tweaks in the last few updates, especially the Devil Worshippers, because when they first came out they were the only guild, well, the only society worth joining, and now they're practically useless. Unfortunately, Paradox tend to do things one way or the other. It's all extremes with them. But they did put in guides on how to make your own societies, and they probably expected more people to make them. So far, there's only 4 being made on the workshop, and I've got 2 of them. I've got the Great Trade League, which is essentially a merchant's guild. It's very good for republics and people with high stewardship. It does mean the church don't like you very much, but oh well. And there's also the Order of Chivalry, which is essentially a martial guild, because the only ones really available were kind of, well, monastery orders, which were only good for high learning characters. This means that characters with high martial stats will essentially be able to go out there and duel people and go on like journeys to find people to joust. And I've not really used it. I've only used it in 1 or 2 games, but I haven't joined it yet, so hopefully I'll be able to get a character or 2 in there and see what it does. You may notice that my Crusader Kings background is also different. This is because I'm using one of my favourite mods, one of the very first ones I ever installed, the In Heaven's cartography map. Oh, sorry, I need a little water after that. Yeah, this doesn't do anything other than just change the map to sort of more, well, old school map appearance. I really like it. It makes the game run faster because it doesn't have to load all the 3D models, and plus it helps keep the performance on my machine quite good. Now, there's a few mods which I haven't really tried yet, but seem to tweak background things. Like, I've gone for a retinue buff mod. This just means your retinues have larger caps, and it reduces the recruitment cost and time it takes to actually for them to fill up. It's a very tiny mod, it doesn't really change much, and in the early stages of the game it won't really do me any good. It's better for when you get a large kingdom and you're having to rely on your retinues to just act as your standing guard against the bleeding Viking invaders. And now, finally, how do you pronounce this guy's name? I'm good. I'll be honest, I tried this, I even put this through text-to-speech and it just couldn't make heads or tails of it, but it's Blobmus Duckus. Technology overhaul. Now, technology is one of these things that hasn't really been touched much in the Crusader Kings updates. After all these years, it's still pretty basic. Now, what this does is improve the technology buffs slightly, spreads them out, because before it was like very simple. You know, you gain increased speed to sieges. You don't take as much attrition when marching through lands. You'll gain a very minor bonus with either city vassals, nobles, or church vassals, things like that. Oh yeah, and unlocking additional succession laws or buildings. This ends up adding in sort of new technologies that are discovered with each stage of your technological upgrades, and just give a few small but not insignificant bonuses here and there. It shouldn't break the game from what I've read. Again, well, from what I had a look at, it's just a minor bonus, but it kind of rewards you for rushing your technology. But with that all said, I think that's a lot now. Oh yes, I've got one more, sorry. Do your duty. That essentially lets you change the focus your family members are, well, focusing on. Yes, with Way of Life, people can choose a focus now in a particular area. And it was also very annoying when you've got your martial son, son, who's an amazing warrior, but he decides that he wants to improve his intrigue with his dismal intrigue of 3 or something, and they just, or alternatively just keep selecting seduction. You're like, no, stop, you've already got a dozen bastards, stop seducing women, you've got like 5 husbands who want to murder you because you slept with their wives, stop it! Now you can. So that's the collection of mods. And I'm going to leave it here. I hope you join me for the character creation in the next episode and my explanation of what I'm doing. Thank you for watching, and I really look forward to doing this series.